Hello, this is Bub's Comics coming at you with the No Faces Comic Chat. I'd like to welcome you all into the chat, and I would also like to say that today we are the Grail Grabbers. So you're welcome, everybody, for that. I know you're.
I like that name.
Yeah,
Thank
that
goodness.
sings to me. Yeah,
Does it really?
yeah, I like it. Rail grabbers.
Yeah, that's the best one yet. Best ever.
That grabs me.
DS, you like the X-size giant men also. That was the only other one that you've liked.
Yeah, that one was good because you kind of did the little switcheroo on that.
Yeah. And I'm just always pleased. And it vexes me so. I think hard and long about what I'm going to name us, and I always primarily think of just how disappointed you're going to be, DS, by the name. And sometimes it motivates me to come up with the worst name I can think of, and sometimes you get a good one like this. I say.
Well, either way, I appreciate that you're thinking of me when you come up with the name.
There you go.
For better or worse.
And of course, chiming in there is DS Comics. Say hello.
What's up, everyone?
And say hello to Roger. Say hi, Roger.
Greetings, everyone.
Nice. And we had somebody. I was gonna have. We'll just jump right into it because Deadpool 2323 is having particular difficulties.
It happens at a certain age.
Yeah, I suppose so. I'll let you tell me about it later there, Roger. We got JPL Flash Comics Geekdom in the chat. We got Metarog in the chat. He's got a little wrench that shows he's one of them there official members.
Oh, that's what that means. Okay.
Yep. And then we've got you're a moderator, so you can kick people out. You have the ability.
I don't want to kick people out. I want to get people in.
Well, every now and then you'll get what does DS call them, trolls or whatever.
You'll get I don't call them that, but yeah, I think there's people that just troll on YouTube for live shows, and then they be idiots.
Yeah. So when you get an idiot, if you can identify an idiot, feel free to eject them. You two, DS, you're both moderators.
I don't know how to do it either.
Well, I guess I'm on my own. Me versus the idiot.
We'll just pass on the responsibilities to you. That's the way it works here.
I just ignore them. I mean, they can't do anything real. All they can do is type words. So I mean, nothing anybody ever says offends me. So whatever. That's
fair. I appreciate that. We got Tats Comics in the house. We got Area 51 Mike. What's going on, Mike? We have Deadpool 23. We said he's having technical difficulties. We got, let's see, Comic Geek McDee's in the house. Rayman the Silencer Man is here. And that's what we got so far. So hello, everyone, and thanks for stopping by and catching us on the No Faces Comic Chat. I also want to say thank you to Discovery Bay Comics, who he's putting out this, what do you call it?
Community guide.
Yeah, because he was struggling with what to call it. I don't know if he's going to keep that. He's had it all week though. He's had it all week, but yeah, I thought it was a good name. But anyway, he's come up with this YouTube community guide. Roger, why don't you tell him what it's about then?
Well, Discovery Bay Comics every morning, he goes through and he does two things actually. He'll recap the what happened the night before or the day before. Live streams and shows that are on a schedule. So, like for example, like our chat, he asked if he could put it on his show, and this morning he put our the No Faces chat as every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and he put also my contest roundup, which I told him that I would be doing on Thursdays at around noonish or whatever. So he's doing that every day for all the comic related channels that have either live streams or have regular content on our schedule. An awesome job. Just, a genius to think about that. When you consider all the things that go on in the community, it's impossible to keep track of. But JB is doing that for us.
Yeah, it's amazing. Not that nobody's thought of it, but this community's been going on longer than the three of us have been on here. And this is a couple people have mentioned it would be a good idea. He's the first one taking the time and effort to do it, so it's really appreciated. And I just subbed him up just in the last week. I didn't even know he's about his channel, and I heard it from somebody else. So really cool.
Yeah, and I saw that he had that what do you call it? Instagram. So he was also cross promoting the channels on Instagram, which I thought was really cool too. Yeah. So he's going all out.
He's doing a great job. Everybody in the chat, if for whatever reason you haven't subbed up Discovery Bay Comics, go do it, because this guy, if you see that show in the morning, you can schedule to see, you know, well, hey, I want this chat at 7:30. There's another chat at 9. You really know what's coming up in case you want to catch it live.
Yeah, and I saw that I watched it this morning, and there were several that I didn't even know existed. So I got kind of busy at work today, but you know, hopefully in the future, there was a couple of early morning ones and early afternoon ones that I had did not know about at all. I didn't even know existed. So I thought that was cool. So it's a good place to learn about ones you may not know are even out there.
Yep. Good point. Exactly.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about what we got going on. So I want to say thanks to him. I also want to say thank you to, hello, Russman Fun Collectibles in the house and Deadpoolio the Awesome. Hello to both of you. And I also wanted to give an extra special shout out to Journals Comics and Pop Culture, I think, too. Journals Comics and Pop Culture. He was going to be on tonight, but he had scheduling difficulties, so we'll catch him again another time. And one of the reasons that we wanted him on tonight was because he kind of inspired this topic for this evening. He's gone over this topic a few times. Several YouTubers really have. Don the Comic Book Junkie has gone over it recently as well. The idea of how to best protect the comic books. We're talking primarily about raw comic books here. Of course, we can chime in and say, well, you know, what about slabs too? Well, we can get into that too. But basically, we want to talk about a little bit, you know, what's your method for protecting your books? You know, Mylars, backing boards, poly bags, you know, what do you use and why do you use it primarily? And he just had a video, I'm not sure if it was up today or yesterday, about this. And it's very interesting the way that he looked at him. You know, I just enjoyed listening to it. And I know that, you know, of course, as you're listening to an explanation video like that as to why someone does something, there's always dissent, because there's tons of people who do it an opposite way. And sometimes for the same reasons. You're like, oh, no, yeah, I agree with you, but I don't do it like that at all. So anyway, there's Comic Geek McD in the house. Yep. So just wanted to see what you guys are doing for your cataloging needs. I'm going to start with DS. And the main reason I'm going to start with DS is because I think he'll be the shortest. Because he may not have an example of a raw book to even show us tonight. So
I got a raw book right there.
What? Where?
Oh, yeah, one in the middle. One in the middle.
Center stage.
I see it. I love it. All right. Well, tell us about it, DS. How do you keep your? How do you care for your investment in these comic books?
Well, first, before I go into what I do, I just want to show everybody this. You don't need to be an expert grader or some high-end collector to own this. This is the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. It's got a lot of information about grading, obviously, but it has a lot of other stuff. And so I broke this out to show comic book maintenance and preservation. And this just goes over what's best for your collection, from lighting to boxes to bags to boards and everything. And it's not very long. It's only 2-3 pages. It's, you know, stuff that most collectors who have been doing it for a while are probably aware of, but so that's just something to check out, and this book's available. They put out a new one each year. But for me, I use bags and boards for raw books, and then I just get stuff slabbed on a regular basis. I like slabs for the preservation and other aspects, but especially for preservation, slabs are great. I use CGC because they seal the inner wells better than any of the other companies. They actually use sound vibrations to get the air out and seal it. The cases are real good. They're not UV resistant, but I feel like you can have them in that case for a long time with that inner well intact and the case intact, and it preserves the comic better than any other method out there. So really, as a Golden Age collector, I slab my books for preservation #1. But before they get slabbed, I usually just keep them in poly bags with boards. You know, there's this perception out there, and it's accurate to a degree, that poly bags have acid in them and will break down paper over time, and that's true, as opposed to Mylar, which does not. But we're talking a scale of decades. Mylar will last hundreds of years longer than poly bags. But, you know, I keep my books in poly bags for, you know, up to a year before I get them graded. I'm not looking to put out the expense for Mylar bags. But if you're a collector of raws, Mylar bags are the way to go. They'll last hundreds of years longer than poly bags. They don't have acid. They don't break down the paper. And I think pretty much everybody uses acid-free backing boards. The only other thing I do is I buy protective bags for the slabs, and that's just to prevent them from being scratched. Nothing real special there. And then I keep them all in boxes and away from light, because even if you can slab something, if you have it sunlight hitting it to any degree, or even any type of fluorescent lights, even the regular light bulbs put off a little bit of UV, but UV rays will fade the comic, and so I keep them in boxes, and I don't have them out displayed right now. But occasionally I have one out displayed for a short period of time, and I keep it away from sunlight for sure. So that's basically what I do. My raw books I store essentially as a temporary measure until they get graded. And when I get them slabbed by CGC, I put them in bags and I keep them in boxes, and I'll take them out here and there to display for a short period of time.
So your slabs, do you use Mylar sleeves for the slabs, or do you use like the poly bag sleeves?
No, I've tried all different bags for raws and slabs, especially slabs. You can get the really thick Mylar ones for slabs, but what happens is at the bottom here, the corners, they get really crispy and they break off. You know, this isn't in contact with the paper, so I don't need it to worry about acid or stiffness or how protective it is. It's just to protect the slab from getting scratched. The Mylar ones are real stiff and the corners break off. They're just real crispy. So I actually use, let me grab what I use here. I buy these. They're poly bags for slabs. And if anybody's watching this that wants to buy bags for slabs, this exact one will fit all of the CGC slabs from modern to golden age, which are a little thicker and a little wider. This fits all of them perfectly. Modern books to thick, wide golden age slabs. They're 2 mil poly bags, 9 by 13 and 13 and a half essentially. And then for the poly bags for raw, I use BCW also. And I buy BCW boxes. Actually, all the supplies, I've tried everything, and I've settled on BCW for pretty much everything. I think they have the best supplies across the board.
Nice. Okay, well, that's good. I like that. When you get new comics in, do you put them in a new poly bag, or do you just like recycle them?
Every new comic I buy, I get it. I put it in a new bag and board. I take the old bag and the old boards. I save the boards, and I use those for some aspects when I ship comics. Sometimes I write on them, take notes. Sometimes I cut them up. I use the boards. The bags I dispose of. I don't know where they've been. I don't know how old they are. You know, bags are cheap. You know, I've talked about this before. You can collect. It's like you have your own museum of art. You can collect the art, display the art, but then also you've got to have you know, archiving and conservation of the art, and that costs money to properly keep your collection. And part of that cost is bags and boards. So I have new bags and boards I use for every comic that comes in. I dispose of the old bags, and I keep the old boards for whatever.
That's cool. That makes sense too. I mean, that's the bags are probably the cheapest things you'll buy. Boards can be fairly inexpensive, but they tend to be expensive to ship. So if you don't have an LCS near you, the backing boards can be pretty expensive to ship because how heavy they are. But other than that, they seem to work out pretty good. Sounds like we got Deadpool 2323 in the house. Welcome.
Hey,
yeah.
Finally.
Oh, what's up?
Sorry about that, guys.
Okay, no, there's another Deadpool. There's a Deadpoolio the Awesome that asked a question how I store my slabs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just buy essentially slab-sized short boxes. They're just like raw short boxes, but they're a little taller, and that's where I keep my slabs. And I have them on a shelving unit, which I bought at Lowe's or Walmart. It's one of those metal ones with wood shelves. I've got a shelving unit like that, and I've adjusted the shelves to fit those boxes, and I store the boxes on that.
Cool. And out of the sun.
And out of the sun. And I don't have that many. I've got 5 short boxes and then a plastic bin that has some stuff in it. But I don't. The 5 short boxes are only one of them is full.
Nice. So welcome, Deadpool 2323. Glad you can make it.
Thanks, guys. Sorry it took me a minute to get in. I got a new computer for Christmas, and I didn't realize I didn't have anything downloaded that would work with Google. So I had to download Google Chrome.
Oh, okay.
I'm not the biggest tech guy, so I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it. You're like a regular on the show. This is like your fourth time you've been with us.
I actually think it's my 5th.
Yeah, it might be. It's awesome.
So, I mean, if you count New Year's Eve, I joined for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah, I think that counts.
You're a recurring guest, like they have in those like game shows, that they have like recurring guests. You're one of those.
Oh,
you're
great.
You're our Charles Nelson Riley. Most people have no idea what I just said.
I gotta say, I have no idea who that is, but I mean, I'm sure it's great.
Just think flamboyant, big glasses.
Somebody knows what I'm talking about. Okay.
It's not good.
He showed up on.
Considering I can't show my face on this, I just want to say thank you for giving everyone that visual of me, Roger.
Well, that's quite all right. I know exactly what you look like, so don't worry. And
I don't know. That sounded like,
and it's not bad. Now hold on. Yeah, you saw me, right? And now you know why I don't show my face, right?
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, all right. Let's get that out of the way.
Now you guys play nice. Play nice. In case the rest of the chat don't know, these two have suffered a recent breakup. It was so rough. Roger had to move 500 miles away.
Both in mourning. I'm more so than he because he's back in the hunting area and I'm not.
Oh, it's horrible. And they met via the No Faces chat too. One day, deal going on, and then they just happened to wander into Yancey Street Comics today, and they both reached into the same short box, and it was it's been a story ever since.
Our eyes locked, and it was love at first sight.
The screenplay is a little bit different than reality, but that'll do.
Well, Deadpool, why don't you go ahead and tell us how you store your stuff? Now, we're talking mostly about like bags and boards and things of that nature, but kind of like your supply list, And so how do you store it, and why do you store it that way?
So I store books 2 different ways. If they're a key, I obviously store it a lot more secure than a non-key. So the story goes, I just did the regular bag and boards like everybody else. And I had a book I bought, which was New Mutants 98, First Appearance of Deadpool. And when I bought it, I was not a very good grader, and the LCS shop owner told me he believed conservatively it was a 9.6. Well, I threw it in my short box for 2 years, and then I sent it out for grading, and I didn't get it pressed, and it came back a 9.0. And even with a pressing, I don't really think it's going to go up to a 9.6. So I decided at that time to start changing how I do things. And so what I do is I'm going to show you here. I use Mylars, but I use the Silver Age and the Golden Age Mylars. And the reason is you can see they have space on the sides and a little bit on the bottom and top. So that if a book were to fall this way onto the ground, then I wouldn't be as worried about damage, or at least it would give it some semblance of protection. The other thing is I don't want the book to move around a lot. So, of course, I use the Golden Age backboards as well, and I use 3 of them per book. It's a little expensive. It's costing me about $8 per 50 count of the boards. So that's $24 for 50 books. And then the Mylar's not cheap either. But I do that With my Silver Age stuff, I've started to go like this. Here's a Silver Age book. It's not, it's not a major key, and it's also not in a high grade book. And I just use one backboard, and the reason I do Mylar mostly for the books I show is because it looks nice. But it does hold more firm and give a level of protection, I feel. And then I store them in normal short boxes on a shelf. So that's what I do with my keys. And, my run stuff that are, dollar books, I put in regular boards and bags. Nothing major. Of course, and then I have my slabs, and I try to keep my slabs in the bags, the Mylar bags that they come in. Some of them have ripped over time, so I do need to get some more of those. I'm glad DS showed that because I didn't know you could get those actually. And then I keep them in a slab size box. I've only got one slab size box because I don't have a lot of slabs. This is my newest slab.
Yeah, I saw that in your haul. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I figured I'd give a little DC love, huh?
Yeah, it seems like you really put some oomph into your DC collection this year.
Well, the best part about this book is not only is it signed by Neil Adams, but I didn't have to meet the guy to get it signed. It was already signed when I bought it.
There you go.
Throwing the Neil Adams shade early today.
That's double the value right there. Because the amount of drinking you might have to do afterwards will make it up for it.
Nice. Comics Addiction says hello everyone, and he's leaving, so good to see you. He's heading out in the rain. Be careful.
Hi, bye.
Yeah, bye. I tell you one thing I was gonna, since you mentioned it as well, I was gonna say to DS while he was talking about his stuff was that he had mentioned the way that they seal the inner well at CGC, and then also about that he purchases those bags. So I know that when you get stuff CGC, they don't provide any of those bags. So just as in fairness to other companies that you may grade, if you didn't know, if you get stuff graded through the dreaded PGX, right? They do provide you actually first we'll say the bad and then we'll say the good. So the bad is they don't even seal the inner well. It's not sealed at all. It's kind of a two-sided seal, and you can just open it and pull it right out. The other thing is that the bags that they do give you bags when they ship the slabs. You get a free bag for every slab, a free sleeve for every slab, but they're just poly. They're not Mylar, and they don't actually fit the book. They're too short, so you can't close the flap over the back. You can't close it over the slab. They only come up to about as tall as the slab is, and then the back is actually exposed at the top part where the flap is because the sleeves are too small to fit their own slabs. So in case you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah, and I think CBCS sends them with bags that do fit, and they're poly bags, and they're much thinner. I think they're 1 mil. I use 2 mil poly bags, but I've had PGX and CBCS ones with their bags. PGX, I don't even know why they put bags, but the CBCS ones, the CBCS ones are made for slabs. They fit. The resealable ones, I think I'm in the minority. I don't like resealable bags for the same reason. You're not going to really get a tape pull, but I don't want tape on when I'm removing slabs or raws. I don't want any sticky stuff anywhere near the flap. I don't like the resealable bags of any kind, so I just buy non-resealable 2 mil poly bags for my slabs, and I put a piece of tape on the back.
I thought you showed us a bag that was resealable.
The one on the slabs?
Yeah, didn't you just show us the BCW pack of bags?
Oh, they're not resealable though. On the back, well, actually, they are resealable, but I don't use the resealing thing. You're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean they are resealable, but I put a piece of tape on there, and I don't peel the thing off of there. But actually, these are not resealable on the flap. They're on the back, which I guess maybe a lot of them are, but I don't use it.
Yeah, that's how they are usually. They're on the back of the bag, and then the flap comes over top of them. and goes on the seal.
All right. Well, it shows how much I know, but that just proves I don't use the resealable aspect of anything. So I put a piece of tape on the back that peels down and stays on the back of the bag, so the flap comes up essentially with nothing on it.
Okay. Well, cool. I was just throwing that out there in case anyone didn't know what some of the other companies do. I didn't know that CBCS. I've only received, I come to think of it, I did. I got a slab from CBCS that I sent off, and it did come with a bag. I think it was resealable, perhaps. That's pretty nice. Their packaging was huge. I only sent one slab in, and I came back, and the box was like half the size of a refrigerator, and it was all for one slab.
Yeah, and you mentioned a PGX about how the inner well is. If you have preservation in mind when you're slabbing a book, people like to say they use PGX, it's cheaper. It's not that much cheaper. I mean, a couple bucks to get a CGC over PGX, it's really not that much difference in price. But
DS, I couldn't agree with you more. The $5 you save on PGX is not worth the hundreds of dollars you're going to lose down the line.
Right. I mean, these books, you get a slab by PGX, it still has, the air is still getting to those books. So whatever humidity or contaminants are in the air are still getting to those books, getting to the staples. You're not preserving the book. You're getting a slab with a grade, but I mean, it's the same as a raw grade for my purposes. And we're not going to get into a PGX discussion, but
nope.
The CGC interwells, they use sound vibrations to get all the air out. They're sealed all the way around. The slabs are rock solid. They use microchamber paper also, which is something I need to look into for my raws. Microchamber paper absorbs contaminants and acid from the paper of the book and also from the air. It prevents ink from bleeding out from the covers into the pages. So it's a good idea to get microchamber paper and put it inside the front cover and inside the back cover for your raws, especially if they're high-end books. But CGC does that for all the books they slab. There's a piece of microchamber paper inside the front and back cover. I need to look into that for my raws.
Tell me how dumb this is, DS. We have a local comic shop, and it's probably the top comic shop in Tampa. And they send all their stuff to PGX. Now, up until last year, CBCS and CGC are both local. Their companies are in the Tampa Bay area. But they would send all their slabs to PGX and then charge you above CGC prices on their books.
Well,
I never understood it.
It's hard to believe, but I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and I'm not the most experienced collector ever. Trust me, I've been doing it for longer than some, shorter than most. But if you have high-end books, and this is, you have old valuable paper, I don't know why anybody uses PGX still. Especially a shop or a dealer that should know better. But, the thing is, people are out there still buying it. There's people that think they're saving a lot of money. They're getting quicker turnarounds. There's an impatience factor that's fueled. If you can get something out much quicker, then people want that more than the quality of the product sometimes. Some people are just ignorant about it. They don't research it. Some people are just new and inexperienced, and they'll learn. But, I mean, if you've got books that are valuable to you, and you want to preserve them with a slab, I would use CGC and then CBCS maybe, and I would never even consider PGX.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
Yep. Deadpool, do you have any other archival things you want to show off today?
Well, the only other thing I would say is it's always to have something, and I got this from Silver Age Dave. Want to give him a little shout out watching one of his tip tricks. There's these little, and I don't have one because I just threw mine out, and I'm getting another one. But if you store your books where there could be some moisture in the air, you want to get one of those moisture collectors and just put it in the corner. And they're like a little bucket. A little tiny bucket filled with a special gel or a special like chemical in there, and it draws the moisture to it, so that way if moisture gets in the air somehow, it's not going to your paper, it's going to that. So that's an important part of collecting. And Silver Age Dave, if you're listening, if you could, because I can't think of what it's called, put in the chat what that's called. I would appreciate that. But I got that from him watching one of his tip videos.
Yeah,
I
you
think
can get
Roger
those-
uses that too.
Yeah, I do. You can get those even in dollar stores. They're
Yeah,
moisture
yeah, they're really
collectors.
cheap. They're not. I
Yeah.
mean, for a couple bucks, it's just completely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's another
when I
option
was
out
down there
there.
in Florida, I had two. I had one right to the left and one right above, to my comics. And after 2-3 months, that was full. So I would replace them.
Yeah, I do something similar. I have little. I need to get some more. They're on my list right now, but they're like little
Bread.
pouches, little sandbags that fit in the hand, filled with the same material, but instead of being in a bucket, they're small. And I put one inside each short box.
Yeah, damp
okay.
rid. Damp rid is what it's
Damp
called.
rid. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can buy little pouches, and I just throw. They're like little sandbags, almost like half the size of those things you use for like cornhole. They're sort of like that, and I just throw one in each short box. And after a while, after probably a month or two, I throw them out. You can buy a pack of them at Walmart for a few bucks, and you get like 10 or 12 of them. And when I get rid of them after a month, I put a new one in.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, I had books that I bought when I was younger, and these are probably all from like 90 to 93 eras, what we're talking about. 2 full long boxes of Raws that I bought off the shelf. That stayed at my parents' house until 5 years ago. So for 20 years, they sat in the original bags with boards, in the original short boxes, in my original bedroom from where I grew up. And my parents don't have an air conditioner. So it's not an air-conditioned home. Wow. So it was just in the bedroom for 20 years. I have sent in numerous of those to get graded without pressing or anything. And all of them came back 9.8. I mean, I picked the 9.8 candidates, but so, paper will last a long time if you take care of it, even at a basic level. Good bags, good boards, good boxes, keep it away from sunlight. And if you're keeping away from humidity, that paper should last a really long time. I mean, there's the golden age books. You're seeing books that are, 60, 70, 80 years old are still getting near mint grades. There's slabs out there for them. Paper will last a long time if you take care of it. So it's good to start now, and you really can make these books way outlast us.
Now I'm taking mine with me. And we got in the chat, we got Comics Edition was still. Oh, he was only driving. He's still with us. Comic Book Gallery, Silver Age, Dave, Beyond the Blast Doors, Damp Rid was what they were calling it, right? And Mike had mentioned something. And we just got Boy Who Had Seven in town too, and Double S. Nice. Mike had mentioned Area 51 that he also uses UV film on his windows that are in that room, in his statue room, and that the statues fade faster than comic books, 10 times faster is what he says. I had never even thought of that about the statues. But I could see how that would be even almost worse because, in the statues, you have all this shading and light effect that they're trying to do with colors and shading and such. And if you stick half of it facing the sun, it's never going to look right. It just look terrible.
Yeah, sun will fade anything.
Yeah.
Well, given enough time, it will. Yes.
Well, Roger, what tips do you have for us as far as archiving your stuff or just protecting your books?
Well, I've been doing this for 45 years, so I've learned a lot as time goes on. But originally, when I started collecting back in the 70s, I don't think there was any such thing as Mylar. I mean, there was, but not for comics, right? There wasn't really, Robert Bell sold bags, but I have about 5 or 6 years ago, I swapped out my old bags that I bought in the 70s. And if you can see this here, it's you can't tell on camera, but it's really yellowed, and it's also like gotten almost opaque because as DS was saying, the pulp of the paper gives off gases, and those, after a certain amount of time, if not stored in really good conditions, will degrade the comic, right? And this has gotten to the point where it's almost like taffy. You can stretch it. So obviously those are not good. Those are, I believe these are polythyrene, right? And, these were stored, I had comics stored in these for 30 years. So
They smell too, don't they?
They do. They smell. Again, this looks, I mean, it doesn't look that bad here on camera, but honestly, this looks like a used colostomy bag. I mean, it's awful.
Good grief.
It's awful. It's really terrible. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I took it upon myself to say, okay, enough is enough. And I threw away all, except for a few that I kept just to, for, giggles. I threw all those away. And some of the backing boards, let me see if I kept one of them, were honestly were like brittle almost. Like look at this here. Look at this here. Hold on. I don't know if you can tell, but look at the impression that it made on that backing board.
Oh, that's the ink that's bled off the back cover onto the board.
That's right.
Yeah.
AG right. Surfer's talking about that right now in the
I was
chat.
just going to say that.
Yeah, when you see that transfer, that ink transfer. Right. Hey, right. Roger. So now look
at that border.
Yeah.
Now, is that the glossy side of the board or the matte side of the board, or is that one of the boards that didn't have a glossy side at all?
It doesn't. Right. This is the old style backing board that they don't have that added protection, acid free.
Well, it doesn't really matter because Roger puts a book on each side.
Correct.
That's
right.
True.
So what I do now, I got rid of all those. What I do now is I sort of have a 3-tiered system. Like the one you see in front of you, the more common books, the more modern books, I put those like Deadpool was saying. I put those and I'll tell you the method behind my madness. Right, I put those back to back, right, with a halfback, right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you saw Chris Journo's video today, I agree with him wholeheartedly. You have to look at the economics behind it. If I was to put Mylar for my nearly 10,000 comics, it cost me $2,500 or so. To redo it. That's just for the bags. That's not even talking about the boards. We're talking about another 1,000 or so for that, 1,000, 1,500. I'm not spending $4,000, for that, because a lot of my collection is not valued at to the level that it would justify that, right? So
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, I think Mylar and like I said, what I do is for the keys, the books that are worth more money that you want to make sure get that extra level of protection.
Yeah, right.
So I totally, completely understand that, especially with you with 10,000 books.
Yeah, I mean trust me. It's and what I do is since I put it back to back, I can fit 350 comics in a long box, which is good and bad.
Wow,
less space, but those things are so dense that when I moved and I had a couple of guys helping me, one of the guys was like had almost fainted because they're just so heavy. They weigh, I would say at least 70, 80 pounds, somewhere in there.
Wow.
I mean, just very dense. Our current, backing boards and I pack them pretty full. So the common everyday stuff has a polypropylene bag and a half bag, right? That's it.
Right.
Then I go to the next tier, right? Which is the comics that are more key-ish. And I'm glad Deadpool 2323 is here because he was a non-first appearance key.
That is a non-first appearance key issue. That may be making us an appearance in a future video.
Okay. I love those videos of yours, by the way, Deadpool. Just everybody's got to check out those videos in the chat, by the way. If you haven't seen the non-first appearance keys, trust me, you have to see those videos. Okay. So a little plug for you. Just because I learn a lot. I learn a lot, and I think if I learning a lot, everybody can share in the knowledge, right?
That's right.
Anyway, okay, so what I do is I put those in Mylar, okay, and in fullbacks, okay. So that way they have an extra added protection, right? They're not like they're not uber expensive, but they're definitely ones that you want to keep in the same condition. So I give them that extra level of protection. Now, the ones that I consider my babies, right? my keys and especially my 30-cent variant set. Okay, which is those are my babies, right? Those are the things that when I moved, I had those in a separate bin, all cushioned. I mean, the SUV could have rolled over and everything would have been destroyed except my 30-cent variant set. Okay. So I keep those in my lights, in fullbacks, and in top loaders. So it prevents crushing. See how it's very thick on these edges? So anything could come on top of this and it would not crush the Comet. Okay. So it's not a slab because it's not brittle like that. It does have give, but it definitely offers a lot of protection from impact damage. Okay. So see, it's very thick plastic around the edges. And that's my third layer. Those are my keys, my Hulk 181, all my 30-cent variant sets, and a couple of my rare variants that I have also. I put in these kind of protection.
Now, on the MyLights, you using 2 mil or 4 mil or the MyLight Plus?
For my upper my real expensive keys, I use the 4 mil. For my 30-cent variant set, I use the 2 mil.
So does a 4 mil fit in that top loader?
Yes.
I'm surprised because the 4 mil is pretty thick and it kind of makes it more pillowy.
Yeah, so it does. It's snug, but it does fit.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. Yeah. And is that a Silver Age size top loader?
Yes, that's correct. Silver Age size.
And then also a Silver Age MyLight?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And what about the board? What size board is that? Silver as well?
I'm not sure. It's the one that overhangs all the way around the bronze. So I think that might be the silver also. I'm not sure. I don't remember offhand what it is.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
And that fits on the left and right side because I know I've had some issue with the top loaders where if you put the bag in just a little too big, it'll actually wrinkle the bag because it doesn't. Yeah. There's not enough play. So
yeah, I make sure that again, I'm not that careful with my regular stuff, but with this, yeah, I make very sure that they fit and that there's no impact or they're not crushing in there and they're not bending, all that.
Do you put tape on those?
I do on the inside, yes. Yes, I do right there.
What do you mean by the inside? Like
I mean not on the top loader. I put it on the MyLight, yeah.
Right. Okay. Just regular old tape.
Well, the non-cloudy one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people use the painter's tape.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch over to that because I think that's a good idea, but I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Well, that's good.
Hey, Discovery Bay's in the house. How you doing, JB?
Bay. And we had Pope Cerebrus join us as well.
All right.
The boy who had 7 was in there, and Double S. I think we got everybody caught up. So welcome all. Glad to have you.
We were just talking about you, JB, Discovery Bay Comics, earlier in the chat. So check out the replay if you haven't. If you weren't there at the beginning.
When I read his channel name, I always want to say Botany Bay, like on Star Trek.
Oh, the Botany Bay.
Yeah, the Botany Bay. I always want to say it's Botany Bay, but it's not. It's Discovery Bay. You got any more pearls of wisdom for us there, Roger, on your bagging and boarding and such?
The only other thing I would say is that now that I'm getting older and weaker, I suggest to everybody that you switch from long boxes to short boxes because again, I mean these are just backbreakers. And it also it doesn't offer as much protection in the middle where it can sag some when you have a lot of comics in it. And so short boxes are just offer a little bit more protection than these longer boxes, especially these older ones that I have. So I'm going to be switching those out little by little.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the short boxes. It's definitely better than long boxes. I also, with my raws, I use I get cardboard and I cut it to the size of the bags and boards for raws. And about every 5 to 8 comics, I put a piece of cardboard in, and that prevents that bend that you get. And most collectors probably have that. If you have, you know, long boxes, it gets like that curvature to the comics over time. They're all stacked up in that long box. I put a piece of cardboard that's cut to size, you know, every 5 to 8 comics, maybe 10 comics. And it prevents that bend, because it essentially breaks the whole box up into little mini boxes, and the comics stay completely straight.
Yeah, and it also offers more integrity to the box itself. So that's a good idea. Another thing that I do is, and I bet you everybody does this, is that in the beginning, at the end of the box, you have some kind of buffer, because since the beginning of the box has the fold and also the top of layer of the cover, that first comic can bend in a little bit, have warp in a little bit after a long period of time. So put a little, I think Silverhage Dave has done that. I think I saw a video of somebody else doing it a couple days ago, cutting just pieces of like foam, or just something that gives a little bit. So that's a good idea. I just have cardboard, but foam is a much better option.
Well, I tell you what I do, and it's these here. I'll show them here real quick. So I get these dividers, and they're basically just, you know, corrugated cardboard, and they're the height of a comic, and they have the little divider thing, so it's perfect for they're made for comics, and they're more pillowy than most of your dividers are either going to be like hard plastic or very thin cardboard, but they're not like this, so they don't provide any actual protection. And these are fairly cheap. I'm sure I could make them myself, but for as cheap as they are, I think they're like 64 of them for like $20. So it comes in a big old pack, like that big. It's huge. And you know, for that price, so I buy a bunch of them, and then I use these at the front, and I use them as dividers along the way. So they're my numbered comics, right? And then A, B, and the rest, and so forth and so on. But then I also stack a bunch in the front and the back in order to provide some cushion for the comics, so that when I'm opening and closing, they don't drop back and hit real hard against the back of that thing. That's what I use.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, there's something else here. I don't even know what this is called. These are the things I hate the most, and I just grabbed one that I saved. All right, so I don't know how well this is going to show up. It's got like it's sort of like
I hate those.
top, yeah, it's like a top loader sort of. It's like
a Mylar top loader. Top loader.
What they're called?
Oh yeah,
they'll shear right off
comics in half.
Yep.
Yeah, what I don't like about these, I know there's people still using them, because I still buy books and they're shipped and they're in these, so people are still using them. But the bottom pinches the corners, and it can bend the corner over a little bit. But sometimes it gets so tight that, especially on older books, like Golden Age books, are you know, the covers are worn. They're not brittle exactly. I don't try to buy brittle books, but when you try to get the book and the board out, it's so stuck down on the bottom that it can actually tear the cover, or it can do significant damage if you've got a lot of wear on that book. I really hate these, and I wish people would stop using them entirely. But for older books to have a lot of wear, like this one actually came in the one that I'm showing here, and I removed it. And it took me a couple minutes to do it carefully, because this one came basically as part of a lot that I bought, and it's pretty beat up. You can see the spine is barely holding on there. It's tore up. To get this out of this thing when it's so stuck in there, it's almost impossible to do without further damaging the book. And then the top of the book has a lot of wear. You know, you can rip a piece right off the front cover trying to get this out.
Oh yeah, those things. Another one, there's like a hard plastic one that actually has the back that seals, and they're made by the company Ultra, that makes like Fleer Ultra. They're called Ultra All Pros.
Oh, okay.
And I've bought a lot of collections, and quite often I'll buy some books that'll be in those. But over time they get brittle, and you can literally just crack them, and they just break apart in your hands.
Yep.
So they can't be offering any. And I don't think anyone would buy those anymore. But
I don't think they sell
in
them
the '90s. I don't think so either. But in the '90s, they were really popular. And I'll still go to comic book shops, and they'll still, you know, they'll have some that are in those. And, you know, I've damaged books trying to get them out of those, but
right.
Those things I can't stand, especially the ones that you just showed, DS. Those are the worst.
They are the worst.
Yeah, they're book cutters.
On the subject, since we're, this is kind of has to do with the subject of protecting books. I do sell quite a bit of books, and I used to cut my own cardboard to fit and everything like that. But now it's just so much easier and better to use Gemini mailers. So if you're buying and selling books and shipping books, or if you're wanting to ship books in an favor and buy some Gemini mailers. I mean, I think I bought 100 of them for $60, so they were 60 cents a piece. And I can tell you, prior to that, quite a few times I had to refund money for books getting damaged in the mail. But since I went to the Geminis, I've, knock on wood, never had that happen. So if you're gonna start, or if you do buy and sell a lot of comics, Gemini mailers are the way to go, and it's becoming an industry standard, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
it is. Totally and they even have knockoff ones. They have like Femini failers or whatever they're called, and they work just as well.
Well, there's one that Arkham Comics Las Vegas uses, and they're not Gemini, but they're another brand. I think he likes them better than the Gemini mailers, but whatever he uses and the Gemini mailers, both are top notch. I actually buy custom boxes about the same price. I think I get 100 of them for like $50, and they're boxes I buy that fit slabs, but I can also send raws. So I sell a lot of both. So I don't want to just have Gemini mailers. These fit a dual purpose to sell slabs or raws. But yeah, I mean, if you're selling a lot of stuff, you charge a little extra on shipping if you want to. People like me, Aaron, are happy to pay a little extra if the book's going to be well protected. So if you're selling a lot of stuff, it's good to buy custom boxes. Gemini mailers are great for raws. They actually make a slab-sized one too. And actually,
I didn't know that. I've never sold any slabs, so I didn't.
Yeah,
know
my
that.
comic shop uses one that they have their logo printed on it, but it sort of opens like a closet. It's got 2 doors on the front, and you can fit the slab inside, and it's got a little cardboard protection at the corners. It's like a Gemini mailer for slabs. I don't know what it's called. I just buy boxes. They're literature mailers that are custom sized. I buy them off of a company called Uline, and they fit slabs, and then I can also put raws in there.
Okay. Yeah. I think I was starting to lose business, and I couldn't figure out why. And when I talked to a friend of mine who does a lot of selling and is kind of my mentor when it comes to selling, and he told me, man, switch to Geminis. And pretty much if you're going to buy a comic book, you can expect to spend $8 on shipping. I do priority mail envelopes, and I put them in a Gemini, and I charge $8. It costs me $7 to ship the envelope. It costs me anywhere from 60 to 70 cents for the Gemini mailer, and I figure my gas is the other 30 cents. So I mean, that's pretty much the standard of what people are going to charge you, and I can fit anywhere from 8 to 10 books in there, depending on if it's a thicker book or not. But and it's pretty much what most people do. And I would just highly recommend, if you're going to ship books, that's definitely the way you want to go.
Yeah, I agree. They look a lot better too. When I get a book like that, I feel better about it. I just feel like care was given.
Right, absolutely. And I'll tell you something else I do. I get those. I order all my shipping supplies for the most part from the post office, and you get them for free.
Right.
And I get those. Their envelopes that they're a little, they feel like they're a waxed envelope, so they're a little more water protective. And I put all the books in there and fold the envelope over it and tape it, and then put it in the Gemini mailer. So God forbid something, it gets dropped in water, or water gets dropped on it, the books have that extra layer of protection.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. I do. They're called the Tyvek bags, right?
Yes, so that's it. The Tyvek. I could not think of the name. Thank you.
Yep, you can get the Tyvek bags for free, and they're flat. They have flat rate shipping Tyvek bags. So what I do is I get those, and I put the Gemini mailer inside that, and then seal that up, so that way nothing ever gets to the book, because it also has a nice tear. It's a little bit more tear proof than the cardboard would be, so it adds a little extra protection there too. And
you've gotten books from me before, right, Bub?
I have, but I have to say that if we're going by, I've received books from all three of you. I think Roger, you've sent me stuff too.
Yes.
And I have to say that there is a wide degree of difference in the shipping from the three of you. And definitely DS Comics gets the cake on that one.
Oh, thanks, man.
The box that he sent was like, I was worried that there was like a small Vietnamese child inside trying to get out. And I was gonna, I'm all on the refugee train. I'd have helped him out, but I mean, my goodness,
I think I sent you. All right. Well, to put that in perspective, I sent you mini comics from the Drake's Cakes. So
yeah.
Pocket-sized comics, raws, and I put them in this huge box. I mean, that's the boxes I had, and that's what I used. So it was this really tiny package inside this box that's for slabs. But I pack everything to survive anything. I think this is what Aaron was talking about. These.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually cut these. These fit, like, this is perfect because the size of this is perfect for a comic to go in. So I cut the top off. I make like a little wedge shaped at the top and fold it over, and it's like a little envelope. And that way you just open that and pull the comics out. So yeah, I put them inside these and fold it over and tape it. And then I put that between cardboard. So when they get this out, all the customer has to do is open the flap and pull the books out, and they're good to go. I hate getting books that are right on the cardboard, and you got to put a razor or scissors or something right next to the books. Sometimes you can't tell where the book actually is inside that cardboard.
Yeah.
Very leery about doing that. So I try to I fold the tape over, make little pull tabs for the whole package. So really, when you get my boxes,
instructions that tell you which direction to pull them in.
Yeah, I write pull on the tape tabs. And so once you get my box open, which you have to cut the tape, and you lift out the bubble wrap, you take the bubble wrap off, you get the cardboard. It's just tape pull tabs. You just pull tabs to get the cardboard off. Then you get this envelope out, you pull tab on that, you pull the books out, they're good to go. That's how I do it.
Very nice. And he does a great job. And really all of you shipped great. Deadpool 2323, his shipping was perfect. Very tight packaging too, to where nothing would move around or get sloshed around when they're kicking it down the road. And I can tell you that Roger used the finest grocery bags that I could ever hope for. And the level of saran wrap care that he put into this.
Only the best for you, Bub. Only the best.
About five comics to a bag. It was great.
Well, I wish
usually
everybody.
I put 10, but for you, double protection.
I wish every seller had the passion and love for this art form that the YouTube community does, because everybody has different mailing methods on YouTube, but everybody packs everything securely and safely, and everybody has little different tips and tricks, and you can adapt your own from everybody else's sort of method and come up with their own way that works for you. And then we get something off of eBay from some seller that's just somebody selling whatever, and it comes and you're like amazed, like how do you seriously send a comic book to somebody like this? I've got more than one occasion a comic book, no bag, no board, in a manila envelope. And the indentations,
I've had that happen once.
Indentations on the book where they addressed it after the book was in the envelope. They put it in, seal it up, and then they write on it with a pen, and you can see the indentations on the cover. So
that's
insane.
Horrible. Yeah. That's insane.
That's bad.
A lot of these mom and pop sellers, they have no idea what they're doing. They just,
they're not. I don't think they care. But I think if you know enough to research a book and know that you should charge fair market value for that book, then you should know enough to research how to ship it properly. That's all.
Well, I'll tell you what, try buying some pulps instead of comic books from even pulp dealers. Pulps generally are just thrown loose into whatever, almost invariably, no matter who I buy them from.
Wow.
Rarely, pulps never come in bags, rarely come in bags and boards. Sometimes in a bag, it's a flimsy little, it's a very flimsy little bag sized for pulps, but usually it's just thrown into a bag or a box that doesn't have any cardboard protection or anything anywhere. So comics are better than that. I don't know why pulps aren't sent like that.
Should be. I'll go over real quick what I do before we hop off here. I use silver aged boards, silver sized boards. Right now, because I just can't find anything better, I've been using these Ultra Pro resealable regular size bags. So I use silver size boards, the regular size bag. And the reason that I do that is because this bag is 7 1/8 inches wide, and the boards are 7 inches wide for silver. So it gives it a nice snug fit where it doesn't shimmy or shake around. And then I slide the comic in there, and they're resealable. I love the resealable because I hate tape. And I've been really wanting to switch to Mylar, but I can't find a Mylar resealable bag. I just can't find it. And the main reason that I like the resealable is that it gives it a nice top tight fit. And so I also use these clear backing boards you can get from comicskins.com. So these clear backing boards, they have them on Amazon too if you don't want to go to their main site. And that way you can't see any tape or anything like that. Everything is very clear. And so that when I put these in my little mini slabs that I pick up, these are like $20 a piece. They're also an Ultra Pro product. I think they're called One Touch Pros, and they just kind of open up at the top. And then I slide the book in there, and then that's it. So that goes in there like that. It's kind of like a hinge there. And then you just close it up. And so that's my little like at-home slab, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's very protective.
So, and I also use the top loaders and Silver Age top loaders, and Silver Age bag generally will fit in the Silver Age top loader. So that's pretty much all that I do. And if you guys know, if anyone knows of resealable Mylars out there, now I found one Mylar like yesterday from this company called Bags or Us or something like that, or Bags Unlimited maybe.
Bags Unlimited, yeah.
And they sell a beaded Mylar, where the flap is actually pushed down and then beaded along the tops to where it always stays flapped over. And you can pull it back, but it'll go back. So I'm going to try that if I can see if the sizing is right, but they're very expensive. It's like, I think for 50, it was like $28 before shipping. So that'd be pretty high, but really I probably don't need more than 50. I doubt I have 50 keys that I'd want to keep that protected. So that may be what I go with, because if it requires that kind of protection, I'm probably going to get it slabbed anyway. So that's just going to be for the books that I really want to keep nice. I want them to maybe, as a low grade collector, I'm always looking for something that's going to present the books better, you know, make them look like they're better than they really are. So maybe I'll switch to that. So if anybody out there knows of any resealable, or also I've looked at like double-sided tapes and things like that. But I think when you use those types of tapes, you come into more of the stuff that DS was talking about, or when you pull it apart, sometimes you'll have a little bit of glue on the flap and then also on the back of the bag. So you end up, it can be more unsafe. So if you guys come across any of that, let me know. Put it in the comment section below.
Yeah, I can tell you another reason I don't use Mylars. I just thought of it while you were talking about the beaded ones. I don't like Mylars, and maybe it's just I don't know how to use them. But I don't think I'm the only one out there that feels this way. But when the Mylar is so stiff and it's already like pre-bent sort of, when you're pulling books in or out, if there's any like loose parts on the spine or significant wear, it can catch and tear that. And I feel like I have to be more careful than I should pulling like Golden Age books in and out of Mylars than poly bags. Poly bags are not as stiff. They're not going to catch a corner and like cut it off. But Mylar will catch on these little, especially on a book like this, it'll catch on these little pieces that are hanging, little flaps that are sticking out. There's a good one here on the bottom here. That'll catch on a Mylar on top of it and can do some extra damage. That's another reason I don't like Mylars.
I don't care for the sound of Mylars moving in a box. That like scraping that it does across the sound. Yeah, that crunchy sound. Yeah. I hate that sound.
Well, that's part of the reason I got these poly bags for the slabs. They're not as crunchy. There's still some nails on a chalkboard when I move them, but it's not nearly as bad as the Mylar bags, which also crack and the corners bust right off.
Wow. Yeah. I'd say it's a lot to go over. I don't know if we necessarily solved anything. I don't guess we were out to solve anything, but it just seems like there's a lot of good tips. To it. Yeah. There's certain things that we definitely didn't say. So, for instance, I think it was Mike had said in the chat that he's received comics in the mail before that people just cut the back of cereal boxes and put them in the bags to use as backing boards. So there are certain things we definitely didn't say, and if we didn't mention any of those things, you can more or less guess that we're against them. That would include Ziploc bags, cellophane, any kind of cardboard that's not glossed, anything non-acid free, anything like that, plastic bags, I don't know, anything else I'm forgetting, duct tape, just anything like that. We're against all that stuff. If we didn't name it, we're probably not for it. There you go.
In the old days, putting comics in Ziplocs was incredibly common, and that was when because not everybody could afford or knew about Robert Bell, places that you have to. I'm talking about the 70s before comic book shops. Mm-hmm. So so you would get the Ziplocs and the gallon size, and you would stick about 5 or 6 of them in there, and that would be your added protection.
I bought a collection one time, and this was a guy's collection from when he was a kid in the 70s. And this is actually the collection I got my Hulk 181 out of. And he had almost nothing was bagged and boarded. He did have some stuff, but not much. But he had probably 20 or 30 books that were wrapped in cellophane.
Wow.
So as a kid, he was a kid. This was a guy, he was trying to do everything he could to protect his books, but he was a kid. And and the cellophane absolutely destroyed those books. It actually when I was peeling the cellophane off, my hands were sticky like I had just stuck them in glue.
Yeah.
Wow.
And those books were brittle and destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let that be a lesson to you, kids.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, I think we're talking about the storage methods and preservation. I think that's about 15% of the condition of the books and the preservation. I think the other 85% is the environment. If you keep books in a humid area or where there's a lot of air circulating that's not clean or it's humid or whatever, it doesn't really matter what you're keeping them in. They're going to degrade much quicker. I'd rather have books in cellophane in a dry, cool, dark place than I would have in Mylar in a humid environment with sunlight and whatever. So I think if you have a good place to store them in a good environment, using these preservation methods, you can make this paper last way longer than your lifetime.
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, what happens is that probably what happens with the cello wrap there is that it trapped the gases from. How many were in that cello? Was it individually, or was it a pack of 10, or how were they wrapped?
No, individually.
Individually. Okay, so
individually. I mean, it was it was like he took a huge sheet, wrapped it over the front so you could see the front, and then just folded and folded and folded in the back, and then cut it so it wasn't a big wad after it was done.
Wow.
I mean, he took the time as a kid to do what he could do, but it just absolutely. I mean, it stuck to the paper. The paper became brittle, and like I said, that cellophane was breaking down. I mean, you're talking 40 years later.
Yeah,
and that cellophane was breaking down, and so it was really sticky.
Yeah,
and it was.
Cellulitis is the same thing. It becomes sticky like a fatty. And that's what happened. It broke down after all those years, and so it sort of adhered to, became part of the comic.
Yeah, that was probably counterproductive. I mean, I like to use an example of the Mile High collection. That guy just had Edgar Church had all those books raw as just stacked up. He didn't have them in bags and boards, obviously. They were just stacked up, and when those got graded, they're some of the highest graded Golden Age books out there. Highly sought after, the most sought after pedigree.
And a very dry environment.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That environment was perfect. It was dry. It was. He had a whole stack of them in his closet, in his room. There was no sunlight. It was a dry atmosphere. No bags and boards whatsoever. And you're getting golden age comics from the 40s getting near mint grades now. Well, in the 80s when they got slabbed. So that goes to show you how important the environment is. A raw book just sitting stacked in a closet can maintain a near mint grade for 40 or 50 years.
Yeah, I think the only ones that were problematic were the ones that were right on top, because those were the ones that were exposed to dust and more air.
Right.
And there were some that were in a closet that had a drip in it, and that stack had water damage about halfway through. But otherwise, you're right. That pressure, that compressed stack actually did not allow air to infiltrate, and thus did not react with the gases. And that's what makes the Mile High collection so incredibly high grade. Yeah,
so that's why I really think if you just have a good environment and take that little extra step of using good materials to preserve your books and just keep it in mind, your books should last way longer than your lifetime, no matter how old you are. The paper will degrade, but if you take care of it and put it in a good environment, this stuff will last for all of our lives.
One question here by Discovery Bay before we go. He says, do anyone recommend how often you're supposed to swap out a slab book?
Yeah, I was just typing a response to that. So my answer is, if you talk to, I didn't send it, that's fine. My answer is, if you talk to a purist, they would say never display, if you're an archivist, they would say never display your slabs at all. So if you're talking about displaying slabs, most people are going to say never hang them up. And if you do, put them in a dark room with no light, no air, and a vacuum seal.
No air.
Yeah, no air. You have to wear a mask to go in there, and a
pressure chamber. I mean,
yeah, pressure chamber. Absolutely, vacuum seal that sucker. You walk in, you ought to be floating, and do all that. The anti-gravity and LED lights only. If that's how you want to display them. But if you're just talking about like the bag that they go in, I'd say just when it starts getting ripped and scuffed. But yeah,
well, as a collector of slabs, I'll tell you that. If you own slabs from CGC, it's a good idea to send them in for a reholder for a brand new slab about every 7 years. That's the estimated time, the lifespan of the micro chamber paper. It really gets below 50% usefulness for what it's designed for after 7 years. So you get a new slab every 7 years for a slabbed book, and get new micro chamber paper in it and a new slab. After 7 years, the usefulness of the microchamber paper is really declined to the point that it's not doing as much good as it should.
Or you could crack it out and put your own microchamber paper in there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to buy microchamber paper. This is something I've never done before, but I'm going to start buying that and putting it in my raw books, even if I'm only going to have them for a month or so before I get them slabbed. But microchamber paper is something I'm going to look into. I'm definitely going to get that and start using it.
That sounds good. So now we know what we're all getting from DS Comic for Christmas. A used poly bag and micro paper chamber. Yeah. Micro chamber paper.
50% life left.
Yeah. whatever he's
with 50% life left. That's funny.
Yeah, that's it. We're getting half-life micro chamber paper, essentially.
Yeah.
I'll use the half-life micro chamber paper for raws that are only going to be around for a little bit before they get slabbed. I only need about 10% of that life.
So we're not even getting the 50%. We're getting like the 5%ers.
I just need a couple percent just to get them from the weigh station to the slabbing, which is not going to be that. I just sent all my Golden Age books in. Yeah, all my Golden Age books are at CGC right now. The raws, the ones I'm keeping, the valuable ones, are at CGC now to get slabbed. So that will give me all my Golden Age keepers will be slabbed now.
Wow. Funny. Well, we thank you guys, and here we are. We've done it again. Wasted a perfectly good hour and some odd 15 minutes yakking about comic stuff. I know this chat's a little different than other chats that we hear. Most of us aren't drunk, which is really a shame. I've been trying to work that into the schedule, but Roger's a teetotaler.
I don't drink either.
There you go. It's all around. And DS is down in a basement right now in an undisclosed location. So in order for the safety of his return to the upstairs undisclosed location, he can't have any drinks downstairs unless they're diet A&Ws. So
diet caffeine-free Coke today.
Oh, nice. So, but
water for me.
Nice. My wife fixed me another hot chocolate, but I finished it.
Yeah, just water. That's it, guys.
So I know this chat's a little different than others, but I just want to say thank you to everybody. This is the kind of stuff we talk about when we talk to each other off the air. You know, this is what we're
no different. It's like no different what we do in the chat when we talk to each other.
Yeah, so you know, we throw a couple of topics out there that I think we're going to get some varying views on, and then we hash them out. So that's what we do in the No Faces chat. Probably one of the cleaner, more family friendly chats out there, and we strive to be one of the most informative chats as well. So and in doing all that, we at least entertain ourselves. So we. And we hope we've entertained a few of you, or even better, entertained and informed a few of you as well. So thanks for being along with us in this journey. Looking forward to 2019 and continuing it on. As always, I've got DS Comics and Roger with me, and as becoming more frequent a guest, we also have, of course, Deadpool 2323, formerly known as Cannonball Comics for 5 minutes, sometime in the early part of 2019. So that's where we're at. So everybody say your goodbyes. We'll start with you, Deadpool 2323. You want to say your signature goodbye?
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick if you'll indulge me.
Go ahead.
I believe the YouTube community for comic books was a little rocked earlier this week when our good friend ETA Nick said goodbye to the community for a while. I just want to send my heartfelt best wishes out to him, and hope he returns to us soon. And Nick, we're thinking of you, and I hope everything turns out okay. With that, guys, collect what you like. Don't apologize for it, and happy hunting.
Thank you. I didn't know anything happened to ETA Nick. I watched 2 of his videos yesterday.
Well, he uploaded ones that he had. He makes a bunch of videos, and then he's selective about what he uploads when. I think he just threw what he had left up there. But if you go back, he put a video out there that he titled "The End."
Oh yeah, I saw that. But
I'm not sure, but yeah, my thoughts and prayers are with him as well. And I'm not sure what he's going through, but it's obviously significant because he was on YouTube for, I don't know, a long time, many years. And
there's a lot of different stuff too, not just comic related stuff. He's got like cooking videos and all kinds of junk he does up there. So it's a great
loss. It's a great loss to the community for sure. One of the top guys as far as grading and slabs and
I mean, I learned how to grade from watching his videos. I'm not professing to sit here and say I'm a great grader, but I'm a whole lot better now because of his videos.
I still use his cheat sheet that he put on Google Drive.
I do too.
For grading.
I absolutely do too.
I have that on my phone at all times. Whenever I come across a book, I use it to determine a quick grade. So,
well, thank you for saying that, Deadpool. I was going to say it too, but I left a message on his that I'll be praying. I don't know what it is, but it's obviously something serious because he loves this community to death.
Oh, so yeah.
It has to be something massive for him to take a break like this.
Yeah. All right. Well, our thoughts are out with him. DS, you want to say your signature goodbye that you love so much?
Yeah. Thanks for everybody for being here, and make sure you do your homework.
Nice. I love that. That's my favorite goodbye. All right, Roger, give us your blessings, please.
Okay. Great chat, everybody. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for again supporting us and being here. It really is a true pleasure being part of this community. And I say this sincerely: everybody, be blessed and be back.
Thank you. And as you know, BUB'S Comics, we just sign off and tell you to read a comic. All right, thanks, guys. Catch you next week on the No Faces Comic Chat.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.